For weeks, the alien fleets hovered silently above Earth. Messages had been exchanged across the galaxy. Every warlord and emperor was watching closely. The planet called Earth was seen as an easy conquest. Its governments were divided. Its technology was outdated. Its military was scattered and weak. To the galaxy, Earth was a primitive world, a chaotic place barely worth noticing, but to the Zelter Dominion, it was the perfect target. They sent their most powerful fleets toward Earth ships, the size of cities, weapons capable of wiping out worlds, soldiers who had never lost a war. They believed Earth would fall in just a few days, but they were wrong. As the fleet entered Earth's orbit, they expected resistance. They expected panic. They expected war instead. They saw nothing. Earth looked peaceful, quiet, too quiet. Commander Otis stared at the screen in confusion. "Are we sure this is the right planet?" "Yes," confirmed the officer. "This is Earth. No signs of resistance. Then proceed." Otis ordered start resource extraction. "We will deal with their governments after landing." The first wave of ships descended on Earth's cities: New York, Moscow, Shanghai. No one stopped them. There were no tanks, no planes, no soldiers. Zelter troops stepped onto Earth with confidence. But the streets were empty. It felt wrong. As they advanced into Manhattan, the ground erupted beneath them. An old human mine exploded. The blast destroyed several units instantly. Commander Tragus was thrown from his seat. Aboard the flagship. "What was that?" he shouted. "We are under attack," his officer replied. But how Earth had no army, no modern weapons, and yet they were being attacked with deadly precision. The truth was far more dangerous than the Zelter had imagined. For years, the world's governments had been preparing in secret. The United States, Russia, China, and others had formed quiet alliances. They built weapons in the shadows. They trained soldiers away from the public eye. And they waited while the galaxy thought Earth was weak. Humanity had been playing a different game. A game of silence, a game of patience. A trap carefully set over decades, and now the trap had sprung. Coordinated, as though the humans had been waiting for them as the first wave of attacks hit. The Zelter fleet scrambled. The invaders no longer moved with their usual confidence. Their soldiers fumbled with their weapons. More mines exploded beneath their feet, and this was only the beginning. The humans had been preparing. For decades, beneath Earth's surface, hidden military bases were spread across the globe. Some even built beneath the oceans. These were the true centers of power, where humanity's greatest weapons were forged. The world's most brilliant minds had worked in secrecy, developing technology that made Earth's primitive image laughable. The Zelter were unprepared for the ferocity of the counterattack. Their soldiers, once proud of their advanced gear, were now being hunted by human forces. They had underestimated Earth's military operating from hidden outposts. The humans struck with precision and fury. The invaders were used to fighting galactic empires, species that followed predictable rules, that relied on superior tech and rigid formations. They had no experience with a race like humanity, a race that adapted, used anything as a weapon, and never backed down. Back in orbit, Commander Otis paced anxiously. Reports poured in from all sectors. Every attack brought more casualties. Earth's surface had turned into a battlefield. Coordinated strikes erupted everywhere. No matter where the Zelter landed, they met resistance. The enemy was everywhere. "We need to regroup, Commander." The communications officer said, "We're taking too many hits. I don't know how much longer we can hold out." Otis clenched his fists. "I don't care what it takes. We will crush them. Continue the assault. There's no reason to retreat." But as he spoke, something far more dangerous had already begun. Earth's true strength was awakening across the planet. Hidden bases came alive. Human forces, once thought scattered and weak, launched full-scale offensives, Zelter ships, despite their advanced design, found themselves swarmed in brutal combat. Earth's military had studied the invaders from the beginning. They had learned their movements, broken down their tactics, and now they struck with precision and ruthless efficiency. In Washington, D.C., a command center rose from beneath the ground. General Mendes stepped forward. He had known this day would come. "Activate the sky shields," he commanded. "Prepare for orbital strikes." It's time they learned why they should have never come. Human-made weapons, far beyond what the Zelter expected, began to rain from the skies. Ships that once flew proudly above Earth burned in the atmosphere. Alien soldiers who believed themselves invincible were caught in a deadly trap. Then the Zelter heard something, a sound unlike anything they had ever known, a roar of defiance. Thunderous, unrelenting. It filled the skies. It shook their ships. It shattered their will. It was the sound of humanity fighting back, a sound of fury, of raw power, of pure violence. Tragus, leader of the Zelter, watched in disbelief. His forces were retreating, their ships disabled, their soldiers scattered. The humans didn't fight like any known species. They were unpredictable. They were savage. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Tragus muttered. Human soldiers operating in stealth struck again and again, cutting down Zelter invaders without hesitation. No mercy, no second chances, and the Zelter realized too late that Earth had never been defenseless. A powder keg all along, a giant waiting to awaken. And now that giant had finally stirred. As the battle raged on, Earth's power became undeniable. The Zelter fleet, once so confident in its victory, began to crumble, crushed beneath the weight of humanity's force. Every city, every country unleashed its fury. The once fragile and fractured world was now united. One unstoppable force. And the Zelter. They were learning what it truly meant. To face a species that would never be conquered, the humans would not bend, they would not yield, and they would not stop until every last invader was gone. The message was clear, and the galaxy would never forget the day Earth awoke. The alien fleet had underestimated the humans. Their arrogance had blinded them. To them, Earth was just another weak, primitive world. One more conquest in a long list of victories. But the first shock had been enough. And now, as the truth settled in, panic began to spread. They tried to understand the enemy they had awakened from orbit. It had looked like chaos, scattered people, confused governments, no unified force. The idea of a global resistance had seemed laughable. After all, Earth had spent centuries at war with itself, divided by politics, by ideologies, by scars that ran deep. But what the invaders hadn't realized was that this disarray was humanity's perfect cover. It made them invisible, kept their true strength hidden behind old technology, fragile alliances, and a false image of weakness. The moment the first alien fleet entered Earth's orbit, they had triggered the most dangerous trap. The galaxy had ever seen the alien forces landed without caution, expecting Earth to fold, just like the dozens of other worlds they had crushed. They expected scattered resistance, a few skirmishes at most. What they hadn't counted on was, the waiting fury of humanity. It started with the first strike. A large, heavily armored cruiser descended smoothly, firing volleys of plasma bolts. It expected retaliation from a few ground troops, maybe a militia or two. Instead, it was met with something far worse: fire from multiple directions, hidden artillery from mountain ridges and from the skies above. Their shields flickered, overloaded, unable to take the onslaught, and then the ship exploded, a burst of fire and metal falling to the ground, in flames. The next few ships suffered the same fate. They tried to retreat, tried to regroup, but it was already too late. In every direction, humans were attacking, from places the invaders didn't even know existed. From the cities, from the forests, from underground bunkers, from space stations hidden in the shadows, humanity had been ready, not for a battle, but for total war. The invaders had planned for ambushes, some scattered resistance, guerrilla warfare at worst. But this was different. There was no negotiation, no surrender, no mercy. It wasn't a fight for survival anymore. It was a slaughter. A red tide of fury crashed down, from the forests to the mountains, from the deserts to the skies. Humanity had been preparing in silence, in secret for this exact moment their weapons once hidden deep beneath the earth, now roared with unrelenting power. The alien commanders scrambled, desperate to understand ships once believed indestructible were being dismantled by weapons they had never seen before. The harder they tried to fight back, the worse it got. Desperation turned into panic as the full scope of Earth's strength was revealed. Old tanks, rusty and forgotten, rolled beside sleek, silent war machines buried for decades. Now awakened, fighters tore through the skies, wearing the marks of ancient wars, but powered by something far greater. The humans once seen as weak had not only survived in the shadows, they had evolved into a force capable of shaking the stars. The aliens tried to regroup, but nothing worked. Their comms failed, their sensors jammed. Every signal scrambled, every battle lost. They had come expecting obedience. Instead, they found extinction because it wasn't just about weapons. It was about something far more terrifying: the human will to fight, to destroy, to protect what was theirs. Ruthless, precise, cold. The humans gave no mercy, took no prisoners. Every alien they encountered erased. The invaders tried to call reinforcements, but it was already too late. Earth's forces were pushing them back. And with every inch reclaimed, the truth became clear. They had made a mistake. A terrible, irreversible mistake. They thought Earth was weak, that its people would surrender. Instead, they had awoken something darker, something ancient, something primal. The humans didn't just fight. They hunted cities reduced to ruins became battlegrounds, where human warriors stalked the invaders like prey. Alien bodies filled the streets, covered the forests, littered the skies. The once mighty fleet, now a shattered mess, burning in orbit. Each day, the aliens grew weaker, and the human resistance grew stronger. What had looked like chaos was now revealed as coordinated destruction, a systematic annihilation of every last invader. The humans were relentless, and the aliens were breaking. Fleet commanders watched helpless as their ships fell one by one. They scrambled, desperate to regain the upper hand, but it was already too late. The damage had been done. The humans had awakened, and they would not stop until every last alien was destroyed. Deep underground, in a fortified alien command bunker, a final meeting took place. The highest-ranking officers sat in. Silence. Faces, pale eyes filled with disbelief. They had come to Earth to conquer, to claim a primitive world, to expand their empire. But now, they were fighting for survival. It was clear. They had underestimated humanity. Completely. "I don't understand," one commander whispered. "How did they do this?" "How could we not have seen this coming?" The head commander said nothing at first, eyes locked on the screens, watching as their forces were crushed. One battle at a time. "They've been playing us," he said. "They've been preparing from the very beginning. They were never weak. We were just blind." And as if the words summoned it, a massive explosion rocked the facility. The lights flickered, alarms screamed, the floor trembled beneath their feet, and the sound of war echoed through the walls. The invaders were surrounded, trapped. "Get us out of here!" the commander shouted. "Now!" but it was already too late. Earth's war machine, once hidden, now fully unleashed, was closing in the humans. Those fragile beings they once mocked had turned the tide of war with precision, with power, with fury. The invasion once predicted to last only days had become a nightmare. And for the alien empire, it was the beginning of the end, their fleet, their soldiers, their pride. All shattered. Humanity had made its point, and they weren't done. They were just getting started. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Earth, once dismissed as irrelevant, now stood as a force. No empire could ignore the survivors, those who fled, scattered across the stars, carrying stories of a world that should have been easy to take, but instead became their ruin. On Earth's surface, the skies still burned alien ships, once mighty now, lay in ruins, twisted metal scattered across the battlefield. And on the ground, the last of the invaders were hunted, systematically wiped out by human forces. The resistance, now fully mobilized, hunted down the last of the stragglers. It wasn't enough to simply repel the aliens. Earth would make sure they never came back. In the aftermath, the governments of Earth came together, for the first time in history. United decades of war, distrust, division, all dissolved in the face of a common enemy. In a vast underground bunker, leaders from across the globe gathered to decide the future. It's over. General Jackson said, eyes fixed on a map of the stars, "We've defeated them, but they're not the only empire out there, and they sure as hell won't be the last." The room was silent, the weight of those words settling in, while humanity had been fighting itself. The rest of the galaxy had been watching, but not anymore. Earth was no longer the weak link. It was the apex predator, and now every empire knew it. "We can't let our guard down," Jackson continued. "We have to send a message." Admiral Mendez stepped forward, his voice calm, focused. "We need to hit them where it hurts. Show every species out there that Earth is not to be trifled with." No one disagreed. Humanity had endured its own self-inflicted chaos, wars, atrocities, destruction. But this was different. This time, the fight had unified them, and now Earth would no longer just defend. It would go on the offensive. The decision was unanimous. Meanwhile, the remnants of the alien fleet limped back to a nearby star system, shattered, broken morale in ruins. In a ruined control room, one of the alien commanders whispered, "What are we going to do?" "We've lost everything. We're stranded, and no, help is coming." The fleet's leader, now a hollow shell of the man he once was, stared into the void of space, feeling the full weight of a fallen empire. They had conquered countless worlds, erased civilizations without remorse. But now they were. The ones fleeing, "We've been overrun," he admitted, "but we're not the only ones out there. Others will come to our aid." Yet even as he spoke, the truth was clear. No one was coming, because Earth had revealed a strength no one had expected. The failure of the invasion had shaken the very foundation of the galaxy, ambassadors, leaders, empires. All of them now paying attention. Earth, once ignored, now stood as a terrifying force, a species willing to do anything to protect its home. Across the stars, strategies shifted. Warnings spread. The name Earth no longer brought laughter, it brought silence, fear, because the humans had fought back with a brutality, a ferocity, a will to win that no one saw coming. The war wasn't over, not yet. The invaders had retreated, but it wasn't peace. It was a pause, a prelude to something greater in orbit. As ships were repaired and weapons restocked, General Jackson stood at the center of the command bridge, watching the galaxy unfold before him. "We're not done yet," he said. This is just the beginning, and the rest of the galaxy is watching, so let's give them a show." He turned to Admiral Mendez. "Prepare the fleet. We're going to make a statement." And just like that, the next chapter began. Humanity, once divided, now stood united with one mission: to never be threatened again, and across the stars. The galaxy trembled, because Earth was coming, and it would never be ignored again.